On the day Ethan's company went public, I broke off our engagement with him. He sounded annoyed. Is this because I covered Chloe's ears when the fireworks went off just now? Yes, it's exactly because you covered her ears. He kicked the nearby chair angrily. Chloe played a crucial role in the company reaching its current position. What's wrong with me taking care of her? Stella, can you stop being unreasonable? I looked at his impatient expression and felt an overwhelming sense of unfamiliarity. When I was 20, I eloped with him. At 22, I used a suicide threat to compel Robert to provide him with startup capital. Everyone in the city's elite circles knew I'd marry no one but him. To secure startup deals, I repeatedly drank heavily with clients to secure deals until my stomach bled. And now Chloe was the one getting all the credit? I found it amusing, yet my voice remained calm. I'm breaking off the engagement precisely because I don't want to make a fuss anymore. Fine. His face turned ashen. You can break off the engagement, but don't come crying back to me later. I nodded, wanting to tell him I wouldn't. Because I was going back to marry Julian, the eldest son of the Chang family, someone from a matching social background. Seeing that I didn't, as usual, try to appease him with tear-rimmed eyes, Ethan's voice grew colder. Stella, don't use the broken engagement to threaten me. Who in the city's elite circles doesn't know you begged Robert for 3 days on your knees to get this engagement? You love me so much, how could you possibly live without me? I stared blankly at Ethan, suddenly feeling a surge of unfamiliarity. He knew our disparate family backgrounds. Robert hadn't wanted me to marry him. He also knew that in this relationship, I had always been the one taking the initiative. He knew everything, yet he was never moved by anything I did. I took a breath. I'm serious. Ethan, from today onward, we're over. But didn't take it seriously. Ins. Ted, he reached out and gently stroked my hair. His touch was soft, but his words were as if dipped in ice. Stella, you've been with me for 7 years, your reputation is ruined. Besides me, who would want you? I was stunned. I had never imagined Ethan would say such a thing to me. After all, we'd been together for 7 years, and he'd protected me meticulously every day. He always talked about protecting women. But now, he was using my reputation against me? Before I could respond, Chloe burst into the office. With tears streaming down her face, she gripped my arm. Ms. Stella, I was wrong, please don't fire me. I have to support my grandparents, they're old and need medicine every day to survive. If you fire me, my entire family will starve, please have mercy on me. As she spoke, she cried and began to fall to her knees. Ethan was quick to react, pulling her up. His expression was extremely furious. Stella, you claim not to care, using the broken engagement to threaten me, but in reality, you resort to such bullying tactics? Chloe did nothing wrong, so why are you trying to fire her? I watched Chloe with interest. Read too many dramatic stories to come up with such a clumsy frame-up. And actually believed her. When did I ever say I was going to fire you? I replied expressionlessly. Chloe trembled violently. Just now, before you and Mr. Ethan entered the office, you told me. She took a deep breath, and despite Ethan's attempts to stop her, she dropped heavily to her knees in front of me. Her knees hit the hard floor, immediately bruising. Ms. Stella, please, please don't fire me. You're a privileged young woman born with a silver spoon in your mouth, different from a girl from an ordinary family like me. A monthly salary of a few thousand might not even cover the cost of one of your outfits, but for us, it's life-saving money. Ms. Stella, you've misunderstood. I've always seen Mr. Ethan as my brother, no inappropriate thoughts at all. Although see. Limed Innocence, I noticed she was wearing Ethan's jacket. I had bought that jacket for him in Australia last year for his birthday. And the dress she was wearing was a gift from Ethan, and the necklace had been bid for in an extravagant auction by him. I never thought they had reached this point, yet in Chloe's eyes, Ethan was still just her brother. Whether she saw Ethan as a brother, I didn't know, but I knew she definitely thought I was blind. However, at that moment, Ethan and Chloe, I couldn't be bothered to waste another word on them. As long as the engagement was broken off, I would be free. Chloe was still weeping and complaining when Ethan bent down and scooped her up into his arms. Chloe, don't worry. As long as I'm at this company, you'll never be fired. Besides, the company going public is half your doing. I'll promote you to vice president tomorrow. Chloe clutched Ethan's blouse. But, Stella clearly said. Ethan forcefully shut the door, his voice turning cold. This company is mine, not yours. Looking at the tightly closed door, I sighed inwardly. Ethan, you're wrong. I am wanted. The next day, I went alone to the Pay family estate to explain to Grandpa that I wanted to break off the engagement. For the past 7 years, Grandpa had truly cared for me. As soon as he heard I wanted to break off the engagement, he immediately grew anxious. Did that rascal Ethan make you angry? I'll call him right now and tell him to come home and apologize to you. I quickly stopped him. Grandpa, it has nothing to do with Ethan. It's just that I'm going to marry someone else. Upon hearing I was going to marry someone else, Grandpa's eyes immediately reddened. Despite his extreme reluctance, he still respected my choice. During our conversation, I noticed a photo frame on Grandpa's table with a picture of Ethan and me. It was taken 7 years ago, right after I had a huge fight with Robert over Ethan and eloped. Despite having completely broken ties with my family, at that time, I felt that love was everything, and he was all I cared about. But now, it took me 7 years to realize how foolish my choice had been. I made an excuse, took the photo, and prepared to destroy it. As I left, I specifically instructed, Grandpa, please don't tell Ethan yet that I'm marrying someone else. The company just went public, and he's overwhelmed with work all day. It's better not to distract him. Grandpa patted my hand. You're still so thoughtful. It wasn't thoughtfulness, nor was I thinking of Ethan. I was simply worried he would cling to me if he knew, interfering with my important life event. As I reached downstairs, I ran into Chloe and Ethan, who were carrying various gifts, right at the door. The moment our eyes met, Ethan scoffed. Stella, didn't you say you were breaking off the engagement? What are you doing here? I'm telling you, using Grandpa to pressure me won't work this time. I'll only forgive you if you apologize to Chloe. I smiled politely. I'm just visiting an elder, nothing more. I wish you both a pleasant meeting with the family. Hearing the sarcasm in my voice, Ethan's face turned pale. He, uncharacteristically, started to explain. Chloe played a crucial role in the company going public. I promised to grant her a wish, and her wish was to visit my grandfather. Stella, can you stop being so randomly jealous? Chloe choked up at the opportune moment. Mr. Ethan, maybe we should leave. Since Stella doesn't want me to see Grandpa, then I won't go, so I don't upset her. I extended my arm, blocking her. When did I say you couldn't go? Chloe, you're trying to pin such a huge blame on me. I can't carry that. Chloe's eyes instantly turned red, and she was speechless. Seeing this, Ethan shielded her behind him and pressed the elevator button. Stella, stop acting crazy here. As the elevator doors slowly closed, I suddenly remembered that Ethan had described Chloe in a similar way before. A year ago, Chloe had just started working at Ethan's company. She was incredibly careless at work and a flirtatious colleague who liked to play up her charm with clients. At a business banquet, she ordered cream buns and deliberately spilled red wine on the heir of a partner company to get attention. She forced me to clean up her messes countless times. Ethan was initially annoyed with Chloe, saying she was crazy and swearing he'd never let her pass probation. But later, they went on a business trip together. When they returned, Ethan's attitude towards Chloe drastically changed. He said it was difficult for her to support her elderly relatives with her work, and that they should be more tolerant of young women. So not only passed probation smoothly but also became Ethan's personal assistant. And, who had initially disliked her, meticulously remembered Chloe's food preferences and even her menstrual cycle. Thinking about it now, Ethan must have started cheating on me around that time. The moment I stepped into my car, a text message popped up on my phone. It was from Chloe. Stella, thank you for training Ethan so well. Now the time is ripe, and I'm ready to claim what's mine. She quickly unsent the message after sending it. She was afraid I would screenshot it and send it to Ethan, pure persona. But I simply smiled faintly and slowly sent a message. I sincerely wish you both well. I quickly called Robert to inform him about breaking off the engagement. Robert was very relieved. Stella, you've finally broken up with that Pay. Your father here has been in the business world for decades. I know how to spot a bad character. That wasn't a good match for you. Finally, Robert told me to hurry home to prepare for the wedding. He even promised me a dowry of $100 million, so I could have a grand wedding. I did plan to go home and leave Ethan's company, but I am a responsible person. I organized the projects I was handling and specifically handed them over to Lily, my assistant who had been with me for a long time. I've already finalized this project, The person in charge just needs to sign it. The rest is up to you. Lily looked at me with tear-filled eyes. Stella, I can't believe you're suddenly leaving. I'm really going to miss you. I patted her head. Silly girl, separation is just a normal part of life. No sooner had I spoken than Chloe strutted over arrogantly. She snatched the project documents from Lily's hand and cried loudly. Ms. Stella, I was the one who secured this project. How can you abuse your power to give it to your trusted assistant? Do you think you can wield absolute power in this company? Do you think the efforts of ordinary people like us are worthless in your eyes? I felt a headache coming on. I took a few steps forward and pinched Chloe's chin. This project was secured by me drinking heavily with clients to secure deals until my stomach bled. Where were you then? Now, it just needs a signature to get the project commission, and you suddenly appear, sniffing it out. Actually, aren't you the one taking shortcuts? Besides, there's no need for you to try and stir up any class conflict with just a few words. Which major project in this company wasn't finalized without a wink of sleep by me for days and nights? Do you understand? Chloe forcefully slapped my hand away, her eyes wide with disbelief. She must not have expected me to confront her so directly in front of everyone. But I had figured everything out, so there was no need to maintain my good person facade. Seeing that she was at a loss for words, Chloe immediately rubbed her eyes until they were red, and tears started to fall. Ms. Stella, I don't understand what you mean by that. I know you've always made things difficult for me and targeted me at every turn because Mr. Ethan treats me well, but I just want a job to support my family. If you're still angry, I can choose to resign. Resign from what? I don't agree. Ethan kicked open the office door and rushed over. He shielded Chloe behind him, glaring at me. Stella, what are you making a fuss about now? Will you only be satisfied when you've utterly crushed Chloe? When did you become such a jealous and malicious woman? The man who had been my fiancé just a few days ago was now shielding another woman and publicly reprimanding me. Such a melodramatic scene would seem exaggerated even in a TV show. As the tension was palpable, Lily timidly raised her hand. Mr. Ethan, you've misunderstood. Stella was trying to hand over her project to me, but Chloe interfered, claiming the project was hers. You know, Stella was the one who drank heavily to secure deals for that project. Before she could finish, Ethan furiously cut her off. What's her project? Your project. When working for the same company, projects should belong to everyone. Besides, Chloe is excellent at her job, so what's wrong with giving this project to her? But, Ethan. Lily still wanted to explain for me but was startled by Ethan's cold gaze and swallowed the rest of her sentence. Ethan looked at me, his voice laced with undisguised mockery. Stella, I never thought you'd train such a loyal dog in my company. Fine, then I announce that your dog is fired. He scanned the room and declared loudly, everyone listen up. As long as this company exists, no one will bully Chloe under my watch. Stella, you will apologize to Chloe immediately. A heart-chilling feeling washed over me. I hadn't expected him to be so biased towards Chloe. Not only did he indiscriminately fire Lily, but he also demanded an apology from me in front of everyone. Such a man, as Robert had said, was not someone to build a future with. I sneered and took off the necklace from my neck. All right, I'll use this necklace as my apology. The moment he recognized the necklace, Ethan froze. He knew it was the first piece of jewelry he bought me with his first substantial earnings. It held significant meaning for both of us. And now, I was casually offering it to Chloe as compensation. Ethan snatched the necklace and threw it heavily to the ground. Stella, why do you have to deliberately provoke me? Did you do something wrong, and you can't even say sorry? I smiled faintly at him, my voice calm. I'm not trying to provoke you. I don't need this necklace anymore. And from now on, I will never have any work disputes with Chloe again. Ethan paused slightly. What do you mean? I took out the resignation letter I had already prepared. I'm resigning. The moment she saw the resignation letter, Chloe's eyes immediately lit up. After all, if I resigned, no one would be able to compete with her for Ethan. But tore up the resignation letter in a few swift motions and dragged me into the office. He pressed me hard against the wall, his eyes red. Stella, how long are you going to keep this up? First you want to break off the engagement, then you want to resign. When are you going to change that privileged young woman's temper of yours? I lowered my gaze. Actually, 7 years ago, when I eloped with Ethan, I had already abandoned any pretense of being a privileged young woman. To secure startup capital for Ethan, I used a suicide threat to compel Robert. To help him close those deals, I worked day and night. But now, what I got in return was being called a privileged young woman with a temper. Those 7 years of my youth were truly laughable. Say what you want. I'm resigning, and that's final. Ethan stared at me for a moment, then suddenly wrapped his arm around my waist and forcefully leaned in to kiss me. He tore open my blouse, his hands reaching inside. Stella, can you stop throwing tantrums? It's getting pointless if you keep this up. His actions made my mind go blank. I suddenly remembered that whenever I had disputes with Ethan before, he would often choose to resolve them in bed. When I was naive, I always thought it was because he wasn't good with words. But now I understood. He was merely unilaterally venting his base desires, never intending to explain anything. I pushed him away forcefully and slapped Ethan hard. Ethan, are you insane? Ethan was breathing heavily, looking at me in disbelief. After all, this was the first time I had ever refused him. Seeing his agitation grow more obvious, I submitted my resignation application on my phone again. The moment Ethan glimpsed the phone, he kicked over the table in front of him in a fit of rage. Still want to resign? Stella, do you really think I can't live without you? Fine, resign then. You better not come crawling back to me crying. The moment my resignation was approved, I pushed open the office door and left without a second thought. After taking only 2 steps, I saw Chloe enter Ethan's office. Soon after, ambiguous sounds of heavy breathing faintly seeped through. I stood rooted to the spot for a long time, my mind in a haze. It was at that moment that I completely severed the last shred of my feelings for Ethan. Upon returning home, I introduced Lily to Robert's company, and also discovered Robert had already prepared my dowry. Stella, the Chang family has prepared $1 billion in cash and half of the company's shares as betrothal gifts. They valued you so much. As a father, I can finally rest assured. This truly surprised me. Logically, Julian and I were just an arranged marriage for family interests. I didn't expect him to attach such importance to it. At the same time, Julian sent me a message. Are you free to try on your wedding dress next week, my fiancé? I stared at the screen for a while before slowly replying, yes, my fiancé. A week later, at the appointed time, I arrived at the bridal boutique. Before I could even step inside, Ethan's car sped over and crashed violently into the Maybach in front of it. Stella. After stopping his car, Ethan, ignoring the wrecked vehicle, rushed to me. His eyes were red. Stella, why haven't you been answering my calls these past few days? You don't know how worried I've been about you these past few days. He grabbed my hand and forcefully pressed the necklace he had picked up back into my palm. I found this necklace, Stella. Stop acting up and come back with me, okay? Before I could speak, I saw a figure step out of the Maybach. Julian, the Chang family heir. He walked to my side, standing abreast with me, and gave Ethan a cold smile. Mr. Ethan, you crashed my car without a word. Are you trying to hit and run? Ethan recognized Julian and quickly replied, Mr. Julian, I'll pay for the damages. Good, Julian said with a slight smile, pulling out an invoice on the spot. This car is worth $10 million. You can just transfer the money to my account, Mr. Ethan. Although his company had gone public, $10 million was still a considerable sum for him. But transferred the money without batting an eye, then turned back to me, his voice hoarse with pleading. Stella, I'm sorry. During the time you were gone, I realized that it wasn't you who couldn't break free from this relationship, but me. You don't know how I've been these past few days. I haven't slept a wink all night. Your image is all over my mind. I was wrong. Please come back to me. I'll never neglect you for Chloe again. Julian was quick to react, pulling Ethan's hand away and shielding me behind him. His voice was calm and firm. Sorry, Stella can't go back with you. She's my fiancé now. What did you say? Ethan froze, all color draining from his face. How is that possible? Stella clearly. I interrupted him. Ethan, Julian is right. He's my fiancé now, and we're here to try on wedding dresses today. The moment I personally admitted it, Ethan completely broke down. Tears instantly welled up in his eyes, his voice filled with disbelief. Stella, you actually found another man? How could you be so heartless? We just had an argument, and you sentenced me to death. We were together for 7 years. How could you do this to me over such a small matter? I looked at him expressionlessly, enunciating each word. Ethan, Do you think I'm arguing with you over just a small matter? No, I've been hurt too many times by your blatant favoritism. You openly favored Chloe, neglected me countless times, reprimanded me, and humiliated me. Over time, my feelings for you have long been exhausted. Now, I no longer love you. There's no possibility between us anymore. With that, I started to walk into the bridal boutique. But relentlessly followed me. His hands trembled slightly, as if he had suddenly lost his anchor. Stella, you can't just leave me. I was wrong. I'll fire Chloe as soon as I get back. I'll treat you as well as I used to. You can't marry someone else. Seeing that I didn't respond, Ethan took a breath and, with a sense of helplessness, uttered a sentence. Stella, is this how you repay a kindness? Indeed, Ethan had once been kind to me. When I was 16, I hid my family background and transferred to a public high school. But I was bullied by some troublemaking girls. Ethan was the one who saved me. It was also because he stepped in to help that time that we grew closer. Even though Ethan came from humble beginnings back then, he would go to great lengths to find out what I liked. He would rather work several part-time jobs himself than save money to buy me things I had casually mentioned. In winter, fearing I'd be cold, he'd buy me a hand warmer with the money he saved, while he wore thin clothes himself. His sincerity saved me during my gloomy adolescence. His fervent heart had truly moved me. But now, looking at this mutually destructive situation, bringing up the past seemed particularly ironic and impolite. Ethan. I looked up at him, my voice calm. I helped you secure the first investment for your company's startup, and I stayed with you until your company went public. Over these 7 years, I've repaid your kindness. There's no need to sacrifice myself further. Ethan tried to say something else, but Julian next to him scoffed. His gaze swept over Ethan. A savior? So, Ethan enjoys impersonating other people's saviors. With that, Julian pulled out his phone and found photos from that year. Back then, I was bullied by some troublemaking girls and locked in the restroom. Because it was dark and I was so scared, I fainted from shock. When I woke up, Ethan was there, looking worried, so I had always believed he saved me. But's phone clearly showed that it was he who carried me out of the restroom and into the infirmary. It was also him who later issued a stern warning, saying that anyone who dared to bully me would be an enemy of his. At that time, Julian was the undisputed school bully, and no one dared to cross him. That's why I was able to spend my entire high school years peacefully. After seeing the evidence, both Ethan's and my expressions changed. Had I been mistaken about my savior all these years? My voice trembled as I spoke. Ethan, what is going on? Ethan was about to speak, but Julian raised an eyebrow. Mr. Ethan, we're all in business. Business people value integrity above all else. If you dare to lie to Stella again, I wouldn't mind going to the school to retrieve the surveillance footage from back then. When said this, Ethan completely panicked. He took a heavy breath, unable to meet my gaze. Stella, listen to my explanation. I didn't mean to impersonate your savior. I simply had no choice. I liked you too much. If I didn't impersonate him, I wouldn't have been able to get close to you. I did all of this just because I loved you too much. Before he could finish, I slapped him hard. Ethan, do you even have a heart? Claiming to love me, yet you impersonated my savior for a full 11 years. What did you take me for? Ethan's face flushed crimson, but he used the opportunity to grab my hand, his eyes filled with pleading. Stella, I was wrong about this. You see, and hit me or scold me, as long as you're willing to come back with me. Even though I impersonated that identity, my love for you these past 7 years wasn't fake. I always saw you as my future wife, and I worked hard just to give you a better life. I forcefully pulled my hand away, no longer wanting to look at him. Ethan, you make me sick. Ethan opened his mouth, but a sob caught in his throat, choking his words. He could barely speak, but tears streamed down his face. Just then, Chloe appeared on the scene. The moment she saw Ethan, she hugged his waist tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. Mr. Ethan, please, save me. Just now, Ms. Stella threatened to blacklist me across the entire industry. But I haven't done anything wrong. Please save me. Ethan's face changed drastically, and he pushed Chloe to the ground. Shut up. I've found out everything. Stella never bullied you, nor did she ever threaten you. You've been putting on a show and slandering her all along. Chloe, I announce you're fired. Stella is the future mistress of this company. No one can bully her under my watch. Chloe froze. This time, her tears were real. Mr. Ethan, How could you do this to me? Didn't you say you were tired of Stella? Didn't you say you could only find the feeling of love with me? You. She didn't finish her sentence before Ethan clamped his hand over her mouth. Shut up. But I clapped my hands. It's all right, let her speak. Ethan, I actually knew you had been intimate with Chloe for a while now. Of course, there's no need for you to shift all the blame onto her. While is certainly at fault, you're not entirely innocent. After all, it takes two to tango when it comes to infidelity. Even without Chloe, someone else would have entered your life, and we still would have ended up here today. I took Julian's hand and walked towards the bridal boutique. Ethan, don't look for me anymore. We are completely over. I truly don't love you anymore. No, Stella, you can't go with him. Ethan rushed forward recklessly but was stopped by the bodyguards at the door. Excuse me, this boutique has been booked privately by Mr. Julian today. No outsiders are allowed. Ethan sank weakly to his knees, having lost all his dignity and composure from the business world. He pounded the ground, breaking down sobbing. His heart felt as if an invisible hand had gripped it, a pain so sharp it stole his breath. At this moment, he truly understood that he had forever lost the most cherished person. Julian's and my wedding quickly arrived as planned. Ethan didn't attend that day but sent a generous wedding gift of $2 million. After the wedding, my in-laws and Julian were very kind to me, treating me as their own daughter. The day we returned to the family estate, Eleanor took out a photo album filled with Julian's childhood pictures. But as I flipped further, the subject of the photos changed to me. It was me from high school. Eleanor smiled at me, holding the album. Julian liked you since high school. Back then, he always declared he'd marry no one but you. Now he's finally got his wish. I can't imagine how happy he must be. Then, I also learned from Eleanor that Julian had written me numerous love letters in high school, but he was too shy to ever deliver them. Just then, Julian finished cooking and pulled me to the dining room. Honey, come eat first. A wave of warmth washed over me. The heir of the esteemed Cheng family, a rising star in the business world, was cooking for me at home. And he had prepared all my favorite dishes. I suddenly realized that perhaps I hadn't married the wrong person. Later, married life was simple and sweet. Julian and I went on many vacations. Ethan seemed to have completely disappeared from my life. Our next encounter was 2 years later. During those 2 years, I occasionally heard news about Ethan. It was said that after I left, he initiated a full industry blacklist against Chloe. After that, he worked furious. Sly, working day and night, rarely resting. That's why, 2 years later, he had the opportunity to compete with the Cheng family for the same project. Although this company was far less powerful than the wealthy Cheng family, it had relevant technical support. He was a formidable competitor. This project was very important to the Cheng family. But, like a madman, aggressively lowered his bid, practically taking a loss on the project, clearly engaging in aggressive competition. Julian had once talked to Ethan privately, but just chuckled softly. Julian, if you give Stella to me, I'll give you this project. That day, Julian got so angry he put Ethan in the hospital. But I knew the one who caused the problem should solve it. So that day, while Julian was back at the company, I went to the hospital to find Ethan. After 2 years, Ethan had lost a lot of weight. But as soon as he saw me, he excitedly came forward. Stella, you finally agreed to see me. These past 2 years, I've worked tirelessly just to have a chance to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Cheng family. To have a chance to get you back. He stared intensely at me, his voice desperate. Stella, as long as you divorce Julian, never mind this project, I'll even give the entire company to the Cheng family. I've completely thought it through. I can give up everything, but I can't live without you. Stella, please come back to me, okay? I truly will never lose my temper with you again, nor will I say a harsh word. Believe me. I did believe Ethan was sincere at that moment. But 2 years had passed, things had changed, and everything was irreversible. I took a few steps back and looked at him. Ethan, I'm not some object to be fought over, and actually, when I was at the company, I personally overheard you and Chloe being intimate in the office. Can you understand how I felt then? Ethan's face immediately turned pale, and he stammered, how could you hear? I continued, Ethan, I did love you madly. If it weren't for my love for you, I wouldn't have chosen to break ties with Robert at 20 to elope with you, nor would I have used a suicide threat to compel Robert to invest in your startup company. And I certainly wouldn't have let you bully me so many times for Chloe. But love, through the daily grind, has long since vanished. You covering Chloe's ears when the fireworks went off was the final straw. At that moment, I knew our love was over. Now I've been married for 2 years. I have my own life, and I only wish for this peaceful life not to be disrupted by anyone. Ethan stared blankly at me for a long time, his eyes growing redder and redder. Hardening his heart, he knelt directly in front of me, his tears falling on my blouse. Stella, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for causing you so much grief. I know that no matter what I say, I can't undo the pain I caused you. But I only ask for one chance. I'll prove to you through my actions that you didn't love the wrong person back then. He paused, then added, besides, Julian isn't necessarily spotless either. He's gained extensive experience in the business world for so many years, how could he not be hiding something from you? I sighed and pushed him away. I believe my husband wouldn't lie to me. Even if, hypothetically, he did cheat like you, I, Stella, would leave without a second thought, because I could never love a two-timing man. I pulled open the doorknob, ready to leave. Ethan, it wasn't easy to build your career from scratch. I advise you not to ruin everything you've worked for. Stella, don't go, please. Ethan knelt and shuffled forward a few steps, his eyes swollen and red. I really can't help it. I don't want to force you like this, but I can't live without you. Stella, please. Don't leave, okay? I truly know I've made a mistake. I looked down at him, took a deep breath, and spoke each word clearly. Ethan, I'm pregnant. After hearing I was pregnant that day, Ethan finally let me leave. He knew I had always longed for a happy family and wished to have a child of my own, and ultimately stopped deliberately undercutting prices to compete with the Chang family. Instead, when my daughter, Sophie, was born, he sent a substantial gift. Later, Ethan completely reined in his ambition and never engaged in aggressive competition again. Instead, he even collaborated with Julian's company several times. It's just that no other woman ever appeared by his side again. From assistants to secretaries, they were all men. Someone in their circle heard about his past with me. They found a woman with a strong resemblance to me and sent her to Ethan, hoping to curry favor. But when Ethan saw the woman, he went berserk publicly, smashed a table, and angrily left. He said, "No one jokes about Stella in front of me." 3 years later, Sophie was old enough for kindergarten. I took her to the classroom, and as I turned to leave, I saw Ethan. He stared at Sophie, his eyes filled with envy. Stella, if we had stayed together back then, we might have had a daughter as lovely as her. I sighed heavily. Ethan, you don't need to hold on to such deep obsession. I've been married for 5 years now. Ethan looked at me in pain, his eyes full of struggle. Stella, to be honest with you, I suffered from severe depression and couldn't sleep night after night. I've seen many therapists. They said if I could just forget our past together, I could return to normal. But I don't want to forget. So I haven't been taking my medication. Instead, every day I relive our time together over and over. Those were the happiest days of my life. He paused, his voice imbued with an almost obsessive resolve. Stella, you don't need to be afraid. I won't break up your family. I'll just quietly watch over you. Loving you is my business. I will love you for a lifetime. I sighed heavily, realizing that Ethan was indeed trapped in past obsession. Ethan, I was able to let go of 7 years of feelings. You can too. If you keep dwelling on the past, you'll suffer even more. But gave a soft laugh, a hint of sorrow in his eyes. It's okay, Stella. If forgetting you is the only way to live a normal life, then I'd rather choose to suffer for a lifetime. Seeing that I couldn't convince him, I shook my head and turned towards the car. Julian closed the car door, leaned over, and kissed my forehead. Why were you talking to that pay fellow for so long again? I'm feeling jealous. Also, you kissed Sophie first today, and I'm not happy about it. From now on, you have to kiss me first every day. I hugged Julian tightly, wanting to imprint his warmth onto my heart. Over these past 5 years, Julian has shown me what true love and being loved really mean. I am very happy and content with my current life. I hope to live happily ever after in this contentment.